I feel like
You guys ready?
So are you?
I don't need it's a program where they. It's not here either.
Try shampoo my hair. It works.
And
And everyone understands.
She's out.
yeah. It's a good thing.
I tend to overly put on makeup, but
Good. Okay. Like to call this meeting to order, the committee of the whole for the April 26th Barnegat Board of Education.
For roll call, Mrs. Cherney,
here,
Mr. Hickey. Here. Mr. Iamonte,
Here.
Ms. Levy,
here,
Mr. Moore, Mr. Quelch, Mr. Zawicki, Ms. Tarnowski,
here.
Mr. O'Brien.
Here.
All right, we have a quorum.
Okay, first up is updates from the Finance Committee meeting. There's no notes in the cow agenda, so normal business, we met on April 14th. Normal business including bills list, transfers, and certifications. We have a few new out-of-district placements on the agenda. Occupational therapist agreement and a work training agreement with CBS. We'll also be going over the preliminary budget. I'm sorry, the tentative budget, and then an equipment lease for buses and other things. Does anybody have any questions for Finance Committee? Okay. Next up is Education, Mr. Hickey.
Good evening. This month when Education Committee met, we'll be passing a few motions this week or tonight. The first one is to approve for translation services. We realized we had a little bit of a gap in some of the languages as we're taking on some new families over the past year. So the translation services will be used on a as needed basis. As we already have people that are already capable with some of the more abundant languages that some of our students are speaking as a second language. Lower cost to the district because it is only as needed basis. So we'll be approving that. For the textbook acquisition updates, The elementary schools are piloting an ELA program right now. It goes in line with the math series that we're currently using. It's the iReady series. And they're also discussing staying with Wonders as well. If that doesn't work out, where either pilot kind of fails and we might need to go look for a third option. But they already kind of considered that on a paper basis and decided to go with this pilot because it was such a high quality program, especially contributing data and helping us with assessing where our students are. At the Brackman Middle School, we're going to be adding ELA and math courses to provide additional supports to some of our students that may be struggling with the block scheduling in Brackman. It's like A day, B day. These additional courses will be on the inverse day so that students can get supports in those classrooms 5 days a week. So they're basically being structured as labs, vice an actual full course. And then lastly, we were awarded a grant from Rutgers University to the tune of about $5,000 a year. It's a New Jersey Leaves No Bite Behind grant, and it's for our environmental sciences program. And that concludes my brief. If anybody has any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hickey. The Edwards Committee did not meet this month, but the architect is at the planning board meeting tonight to discuss the demolition of the Edwards School, so that will move forward next month. Governance Committee also did not meet, nor did Health, Safety, and Technology. Personnel did meet. We discussed many of the annual contract renewals for staff, the substitute services, which is being voted on tonight, and several new hires. Also like to welcome or thank the 4 retirees that are retiring from the district. Is there any questions for personnel? Okay. Next up is Dr. Beck for Citizens Advisory Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Brennan. My name is Scott Beck. I'm the chair of the Citizens Advisory Committee. For those of you who may not know, we are a group of town members who act as a liaison between the board, the administration, staff, and the citizens. We meet monthly and we discuss certain topics that us as residents of the community and the board and staff feel pertinent. This month we met and we had 2 different topics that we spoke about. The first one was our summer reading program. Mary Camarda, the supervisor of curriculum and instruction, led this, and she told us that in the past students had multiple options for their summer reading program, and it turned into a major assessment grade in the beginning of the school year, which the students and the teachers really weren't happy about because the teachers didn't teach these books and have questions to or have time to answer questions. So then the district, and this is going back a few years, the district moved to making the assessments a minor assessment, and then most students didn't take this seriously, would read Cliff Notes and kind of just blow it off. Over the last 2 years with COVID and everything going on, honestly, the program has kind of stopped, and now the district wants to get that going again because it is such a important aspect of the students' learning and continuing education is to create that summer reading program. So we want to create now, or the district, I should say, wants to create a culture of reading and to love to learning. So Mary has had 3 different meetings with the teachers to come up with a really an applicable type of program for the students and give the students incentive to want to complete their summer reading program. One idea is that give out awards at the September Board of meeting that we're having here, the Board of Education meeting. Other ideas were to, to have some raffles, maybe a summer fair, different things like that to get the students engaged. Throughout the year, the teachers do reading assessments, which will allow them to gauge what books are best for each individual student as well. So it's not going to be so broad. It'll be things that the students will be able to really get behind and really enjoy. Our summer reading program here in Barnegat starts in the 6th grade, and it was asked why this isn't done earlier. other districts do summer reading programs earlier. Last year, and I believe this year, the board is going to try to do the summer enrichment program again that we did last year. I know my daughter was in it and it was very successful. That's taken place of the summer reading program in the earlier years. And if that's something that continues, then that's why it hasn't started. It was also suggested by one of the community members that we have a quote unquote summer reading program for math, because math is such an important skill that is lost throughout the years as well. Mr. Barberi, Director of Curriculum, really loved that idea. He would like to get away from the math packets. So they are going to investigate that more, which I think is a great idea. These discussions kind of morphed into discussions how we need to have more real life practical teaching, not teach to tests. And we've discussed this many times. And Dr. Latwis says, you know, he stated that we teach to state proficiency tests, which are, and I'm probably saying this wrong, we don't teach to state proficiency tests just to pass the test. We teach the students to be good, productive members of society and be successful in whatever path they take. Yes, the state testing is important, and that is designed to teach students to be productive members of society in the way they are. But we do have a lot of other classes and courses that are designed to help all of those students, college bound or not. It was told to us that even these college prep courses are not just for those going to college. If you're going to a trade school, you need to pass licensing tests. You need to know how to run a business. So we do teach all that, and we do go to that. And the next conversation that we had, and was a great segue actually with our meeting, we were talking about the vocational technical schools. And you know, Barnegat High School and Barnegat District is not here to replace the VOTech schools. We're here to supplement that. We have the SHIELD program, we have the ROTC program, and we have a lot of other programs throughout the daily schedule that the students have that will put those quote unquote practical skills in as well. Vocational technical school, our presenters on this one were Dr. Purpuri, the Director of Supervisor of Guidance, and Mr. Lang, who's a Barnegat High School counselor, and he's the VOTech school liaison. So the Ocean County Vocational Technical School basically has two paths, right? You can go there full-time and not be a student at Barnegat High School. You can go in 8th grade, you have to test, and they have 3 different schools. You have to test and be accepted into these schools. One is the Performing Arts Academy. The other one is MATES, which is the Marine Science Academy. And the third one is the Academy of Law and Safety. Some students can, if they want to go down that path, they choose to do that, and they go full-time there. The other programs that we have is a share time. And this is where students will be at Barnegat High School for half of a day, and then they'll go to the VOTech school for half of the day. This is where they're going to learn about trades, welding, building, auto, electric, plumbing, nursing, medical. There's a litany of different schools. And what's great about this program is if the students were to do this after high school, it costs about $3,500 a year. The district takes care of that for the students here. It costs them nothing, which is awesome. One of our concerns as parents and people in the communities, we thought this should be brought to the parents and to the students at a younger age than it is. You know, some people coming up, they don't know about the half-day program is your junior and senior year. They don't know about it until too late. They don't know about the other schools, the performing arts and the MATES. So we are suggesting bringing that to the parents and to the students at an earlier age. And that's really mostly what we did. Obviously, there was a lot more, but I don't want to bore you guys too much. Our next Citizens Advisory Committee meeting will be held on May 9th at the middle school. It's going to kind of wrap up what we've done all year, and we're going to kind of go over the topics that we talked about. We're going to listen to the administration and the board and see what changes, you know, that we suggested and what changes were actually made. So we are here to, you know, help the community, help the board, help the administration. So I encourage for anybody who's willing to donate some of their time to for this next round of the Citizens Advisory Committee, come join with us and help us out, help move the district forward, and help you know, all the upstanders here move forward as well. Thank you very much.
What
Thank you.
Anybody questions?
What time?
What time?
May-
6 o'clock. It's actually being switched over to the high school this month. So we'll be there.
For the high school.
Any other questions for me? Anybody from you guys? Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Beck.
Thank you.
Okay. Does anybody else have any comments for committee of the whole? Okay. And move to adjourn, please.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Cherney,
Yes.
Mr. Hickey,
Yes.
Mr. Iamonte,
Yes.
Ms. Levy,
Yes.
Ms. Tarnowski,
Yes.
and Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
All right. We close the committee of the whole at 6:17. Adjourning, sorry.
Got it.
I'd like to call the regular meeting to order, please, for Tuesday, April 26th.
All right. The notice of this meeting has been forwarded to the Asbury Park Press, the Beacon, and Tap Into Barnegat and placed in the foyer of each Barnegat Township School in the Barnegat Township Municipal Building and has been filed with the Barnegat Township Municipal Clerk in conjunction with the Open Public Meetings Act. With that, we'll do a roll call. Ms. Cherney,
Here.
Mr. Hickey,
Here.
Mr. Iamonte,
Here.
Ms. Levy,
Here.
Mr. Moore, Mr. Quelch, Mr. Zawicki, Ms. Tarnowski,
Here.
Mr. O'Brien.
Here.
All right, we have a quorum.
Please stand for the flag salute. Pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America. And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 5, can I please have an approval of the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Ms. Cherney,
Yes.
Mr. Hickey,
Yes.
Mr. Iamonte,
Yes.
sorry, Ms. Ms. Levy, sorry,
Yes.
Ms. Tarnowski,
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
Motion carries. Sorry about that.
Okay. Item number 6 is approval of minutes from the regular session of the March 22nd meeting and the executive session of March 22nd. Can I please have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Cherney,
Yes.
Mr. Hickey,
Yes.
Mr. Iamonte,
Yes.
Ms. Levy,
Yes.
Ms. Tarnowski,
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
All right. Motion carries.
Next up, we'll hear from student representative, Ms. Maya Foltz.
Okay, so first I would just like to thank everyone for letting me speak here. At the last meeting before spring break, I was mentioning that Spirit Week was coming up. We got a bunch of new days and students were enthusiastic about them. So we got a lot more creativity and like participation from students. The pep rally that happened at the end of the week also went well. And currently, student government is focusing on starting elections for the next school year. And students are starting to prepare for the AP exams, which start next week. And we do have many school events coming up, some of them being like Scholarship Night and Mr. Bengal that we're trying to plan right now. And it's going very well, and we hope that it should be fun for everyone involved.
Thank you very much. Next up is Dr. Latwis, Superintendent Pilots.
All right, let's start off with calling Mrs. Purpry to the dais so we can move into the upstanders.
Good evening, everyone. Barnegat is a place where we believe in a positive school climate, family togetherness, and community involvement. And it's the marriage of these three principles that define our Upstander program. To unite Barnegat as a district, we're recognizing students aligned with our Bengal Pride acronym. So this month, for the letter R, our students have demonstrated resiliency. To reward these students, we're granting them with a gift card for a family meal from a local restaurant, and tonight's gift certificates are for Dolce Bagel to reinforce the idea of a family meal and family togetherness. I'm honored tonight to recognize our upstanders for their commitment to making Barnegat a better place. So when you hear your names, students, please join Board President, Mr. O'Brien, and Superintendent, Dr. Latwis, in celebrating you by coming to receive your plaque and gift certificate. First, in absentia, we recognize a student in Barnegat High School, Max Giacone, who we will further acknowledge next month in May. And next, we recognize a student from Brackman, Gloria Barreca. Is Gloria here?
Just come on.
Congratulations, Gloria. Choice is a gift everyone is born with. People have the choice to be an optimist or a pessimist. It is too easy to focus on the negative and not see all the positives in life. Gloria is a ray of sunshine that people gravitate toward. No matter what, she chooses to start each day and every day with a smile on her face, a smile that's contagious and a smile that is needed by so many right now. She chooses to see life with new opportunities to better this world. She chooses to persevere, and we have no doubt that she will accomplish big things in her future.
That's good.
Congratulations, Gloria. Next, from Horbelt, we recognize our student Christopher Santa Maria. Christopher exemplifies honesty, integrity, and respect at all times. His inquisitive spirit leads him to many places, and these adventures lead him to finding lost treasures around town or school. Christopher then spends a lot of time trying to find the person who may have lost them, rather than keeping it for himself. He is there ready to fix a broken object or to help organize. He is a door holder, a welcome morning smile, a hug, and an I will see you tomorrow kind of kid. Even when life gets tough for Christopher, he continues to come to school, apply himself, and always follows the rules. We are proud to have him as a Barnegat Bengal. Congratulations, Christopher. Next, we recognize our student from Donahue, Jacob Zacker. Jacob is truly the epitome of a hard worker. He sets high standards for his work and challenges himself to meet these standards with each assignment that he completes. Jacob is a light, both academically and socially, and we have loved to watch him since September. Any obstacle he's faced has only motivated him to grow stronger and more resilient. He is crushing every goal he has set for himself, and we are so proud of Jacob in all of his accomplishments. Congratulations, Jacob. Next, we recognize our student from Collins, Miss Emma Diamodio. Emma truly exhibits the trait of resilience. She is responsible and trustworthy. She can always be called on for help, whether the task is big or small. She has a positive outlook while at school and shares her sunny disposition with her classmates daily. She is able to show empathy toward her peers and the flexibility to work well in a group, and she shows acceptance for others and can be called on by them when needed. It is our honor to work with Emma. Congratulations, Emma. And last but not least, we recognize our student from Dunphy, Nevea Gobriel. Nevea is making good progress learning some of the letters and numbers. Memory challenges made it difficult for her to retain information, but she has never given up, and she grows great resilience. She is so proud of how much she is learning, and so are we. She is everyone's biggest cheerleader. Her kindness and caring attitude toward others is amazing, and we feel she is so deserving of this recognition. Congratulations, Nevea.
Ever see a group of people jump ship so?
And now we will move right into our real media contest winners as presented by Mrs. Purpurai, Dr. Purpurai.
So our Real Media Partnership is a partnership that is funded through our Communities That Care community partnership, as well as our drug-free community grant. Ms. Cucinato leads this along with some other stakeholders in Brackman. And the purpose of our Real Media Partnership is to facilitate a curriculum that prevents adolescent substance abuse. So we have tasked our students with making an art project that creatively demonstrates how substance abuses are in fact risky. So tonight we are recognizing our first, second, and third place winners, and courtesy of Barnegat Police Department, which is another strong community partnerships that we have in the district, they will be receiving a gift card. So in first place, I would like to recognize Miss Alessandra Elenis. You can see on the board the poster that Miss Elenis has made.
There you go. That's nice.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's why she.
And next, we will recognize Miss Emily Zhang for her artwork as well.
Can we bring that screen back?
Yeah.
Can't even draw stick figures.
And last, we recognize Nicholas Rusamano. We will make sure that he gets recognition at school tomorrow. So thank you guys and congratulations so much on your achievement.
Just a few other highlights that I'd like to touch upon. Jacqueline Grabowski has been chosen as one of the 2022 class of teachers who rock. Her story was read on air Friday morning on April 8th on 100.1 WJRZ's morning show and on Rockin' Robin's show on 95.9. Congratulations, Jacqueline, well deserved. Barnegat Township resident Jacob Coop will be going to the Special Olympics USA Games in Orlando, Florida on June 5th through the 12th, and he will be representing the Special Olympics team, New Jersey, for golf. So congratulations, Jacob. Our final strategic planning night will be held on Wednesday, April 27th at 6 o'clock in the BHS cafeteria. Participate in person or virtually, and childcare will be provided. Collins and Donahue, we will be focusing on this on next month during our Barnegat Bragg section, but we did have some winners of the Illustrating America contest from the VFW, but as I said, we will take a look at doing that more in May, so I don't want to ruin any surprises. As far as the high school update, we had a number of students represented and win in the Ocean County Teen Arts on Friday. So we received a notification that 7 of our students will be advancing to the state competition in June. So that's very, very exciting for them. Taralyn Charlin is the athletic recognition first athlete in Barnegat to be a member of 2 state sectional championship teams, volleyball and bowling, for the 21-22 school year. So congratulations to Taralyn. And finally, congratulations to the girls varsity golf as they made school history on Monday, 4/11/2022, by winning the Ocean County tournament for golf. So congratulations to them. With that being said, I will turn it back to you, President O'Brien.
Thank you, Dr. Latwis. So tonight we'll be reviewing the tentative budget. I'd like to thank Mr. Brennan and his staff for their hard work and providing training and a thorough review with the Board of Education. I just wanted to let the public, I'm sure, is already aware of the large cost increases in almost every area our district is facing. Health benefits, fuel prices, every school need is through the roof, and costs just keep going up. So I appreciate Mr. Brennan and his efforts to help manage those costs. I do think the citizens of Barnegat will be happy with the budget and the work the board has done to help manage the inflation and keep the focus on improving educational outcomes. Tonight, we're also voting on a new service to manage the substitute teachers services. The original partner we engaged with a few years ago had been acquired, and we felt that we needed some new opportunities to help manage the subpool. The Personnel Committee took part in the review process, and 3 potential service providers, which included administrators, principals, and HR. And each attendee provided unique feedback on the presentation for the 2 candidates that did participate. The incumbent supplier did not make a presentation. We're also voting on an equipment lease to replace 3 buses, technology equipment, and textbooks in accordance with curriculum plans. These leases make the budget process easier to reconcile and provides a steady rate of expenses. When coupled with a strong maintenance and replacement plan, it enables the district to manage their expenses for several years into the future. Anyone who follows the district on social media and has undoubtedly noticed an increase in our presence, I hope it provides a greater view into the amazing things our students and staff do each day. And then finally, tomorrow night will be the final strategic planning session for the year. Please make sure everybody that can attend does. It'll be an important part to contribute to the change and improvements in our school districts. Thank you. Okay. Next, do we need a motion to enter budget hearing? So we'll just move into the budget hearing for the 2023, June 2023 budget.
Okay, I'd like to invite up Mr. Barbieri, Mr. Nickel, Mr. Gunderson, and Mr. Brennan so that we can present the budget hearing. You're just gonna be the master clicker. Look, so I get this, and then down, up, right. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming out for this year's budget hearing. I really appreciate the large attendance and participation in such a monumental thing that we like to do each year. So I'm going to provide a brief introduction to our budget hearing, and then I will turn it over to these fine gentlemen to go through some of the specifics. So very quickly, it's just a district at a glance. So you'll see that we have 6 operating schools. We identify that as 6 operating because we still have ownership of Edward School, even though it's not occupied. We have 11 total buildings, 708 staff, 3,614 students, 327 of them are receiving free preschool. We have 14 different varsity sports, 280 different courses offered at BHS, and we had 7 winners at this year's Ocean County Teens Festival. The reason why we included some of those things on the right is because I think a lot of times when we look at the budget, we really look at the nuts and bolts of everything that's going on here. And I think it's important to note that there's a lot of things that are really great about Barnegat Township School District. And we have a lot of really amazing opportunities for our students that doesn't often show up in a state report card. So we felt it was important to highlight just 3 of the many things that we feel are very special about our district. The budget process, just touching upon that briefly, is a year-long process. It really never stops. It just continues to flow into the next. Really, we start looking in November, where we reach out to the building principals, the directors that are in charge of various departments, and we look for feedback on what they're looking to do, looking ahead for the following year. So what are the different initiatives? What are the different needs? What are the different things that they feel are important to pursue for their buildings? Maybe looking back at some of the initiatives that they're not going to continue to pursue, and they put together a draft of that budget. That draft of that budget ends up coming to Mr. Brennan, myself, and we look at that a little bit closer in the January, February months, where we really start to beat it up and we have a better idea of some of the state funding that we're going to get and federal funding that we're going to get. From February to April, we have that rough draft and board discussions. Like I said, depending on the money that we get from the federal and state, what that looks like with the local taxes, what that revenue generates, what other opportunities that we have, we really sit down and we start to look at what we can pursue and what are some of the things that we might have to put off for a year. In March, we submit the tentative budget for DOE approval. And then in April, we have the adoption and a public hearing, which is what we're doing tonight. That being said, I will turn it over to Mr. Brennan.
Sure. Just real quick for your information, all this slideshow budget, everything will be on our website. If you click on the agenda, you'll see that we have a link to the budget as well. So I know we're going to be throwing a lot of information at you and explaining a lot of things and give probably some slides that are a little bit more of an eye chart than anything else, but it really supports all the information that we have on the website. So to kind of build on what Brian was talking about, we need to know where we're going to go. We need to know where we've been. And this is where we're at currently. The New Jersey average for our cost per pupil is about $17,000. We're running at about $15,000. So we're actually below the average and we're still able to provide the instruction and the great programs here. Our district factor group, that's what the DFG means, is we're 36 out of 77. District factor group is just like districts. You can't compare us to like a Ware town. It just wouldn't be fair. They're a little different composition. So more budget size, demographic size, and then obviously our enrollment. So we're running about right in the middle and still a little on the favorable side of how efficiently we're running the district. Facility, we're still met with a bunch of current challenges. Brackman School has been a big one for the last couple of years. And again, we'll be rolling into the next year. We awarded a very large contract to our HVAC vendor to increase the climate in that building. And we really, when I came here about three and a half years ago, we took a real hard look and tried to have a long-term plan. We have a facility assessment. We're just not making this up as we go along. We did. We were hit with a couple emergencies, but we wanted to stop that. We wanted to be able to plan for the emergencies. And in this case, I think we're starting to get there, and everyone's recognizing that the climate, and when I say climate, I'm talking about the temperature and just the atmosphere and the buildings are much better controlled. Budget impact is a little bit crazy over the last couple of years. So we received some significant funding. You've seen a lot of investment going on around the district. Some of the things that we've done with the HVAC that I just said, you'll be seeing some signs and upgrades in our messaging that we're going to be able to put out there. And we're able to do a one-to-one initiative that Mr. Nickel will talk about in a minute. And really, we were able, because we had these plans in place before the pandemic hit, we were able to take advantage of that funding relatively quickly and easily, and really focused on the difficult part of responding to the pandemic. Here's some of the cost savings measures that we do. So we have an efficient use of administration at 17-to-1. We have 17 faculty members to 1 administrator, and that's 8 out of 78. So the lower you are, the better you are. Our administrative costs are $900 below the regional average. So we're able to make a very big impact of our admin costs, which is we're judged by. We use an energy savings improvement plan that we're actually just finishing it up, and that was a budget neutral approach to do major investments that we needed to take care of. And then some of those were emergencies, and I explained those a little bit earlier. We use cooperative purchasing agreements, and we kind of partner with our neighbors and our schools across the state and purchase on large scale. So you get more bang for your buck. We're able to jump back in. So that it provides a cost savings for the district. Very similar to cooperative purchasing agreements, it's joint insurance fund. We're actually able to garner rates from insurance companies because we're with other districts that have very favorable experience. And in some cases in like workers' comp, we actually self-insure because we all contribute and our premiums and our claims are paid basically by each other. Interlocal agreements we have for fuel. We have a school resource officer, for example, same thing as an example of interlocal agreements. And in joint transportation, we transport students all over the county and really all over the state when you factor in special ed. So when we're able to join with other districts, and Ocean County VOTEC is probably the biggest example of this, where we all transport our kids to Central Regional, and then we partner with Lacey, Manchester Central, and our kids go out to Brick, Jackson, and Tom River. So we're able to, instead of sending buses all over, that's very cost prohibitive, we're able to take advantage of increasing the ridership on the buses. The budget focus is, we appreciate that most of our funding comes from the taxpayers, so we have to be cognizant of their investment. The current economic climate isn't very optimistic. Prices are increasing, inflation, and that stuff. So and families are struggling. So we have that in mind as we work through these plans and budgets that we're putting in place. We have stable expenditure levels, which we want to be predictable. We can't have large fluctuations in our trends. So we try to make it predictable so that way the families and the taxpayers can understand what they could see in the future. I would be lying if I say I could stand here and I could save you millions of dollars. The formula just doesn't allow for it. We don't have an ability to make money for the district in a significant way. We did have state aid increases. We welcomed it. We hope it continues after years of not having it. And it was able to be alleviate some of the problems that we have. We have a $4 million pre-K program, so that is fully funded, and we're able to provide a great service to our families in our town. I said this before, so I'm a little nervous about saying it again. It's a benchmark year. We thought that before we went into the pandemic, and we've been struggling to get back up. But hopefully, this is the year we're on our feet and we're moving forward with all the plans that we've put in place, and we've been adjusting based on the challenges that have been thrown at us. We've had staff realignment. We use surplus it's really a revenue. The definition, it's the savings of previous years savings, because you can't overspend your budget. That's against the law. You can't exactly spend your budget because I'm not that good. So we're in about a 96% budget efficiency. That means we spend about 96% of our budget. So there's 4% that goes unspent and falls into the surplus, and we use it in succeeding years. And we try to manage that to keep that as smooth, because if that's fluctuating, our revenues are not going to be able to balance with our expenditures. So, and then the last thing is we needed to take care of our Edward School we've talked about in the past, and that's in this budget to finally bring that to a safe place. And let me turn this over to Mr. Nickel.
Thank you, Mr. Brennan. Okay, talking about technology in 2022 is constantly changing, and we're upgrading and we're maintaining. But one of the key things is constantly upgrading. So as you'll see, our technology infrastructure, we went to a 6 gigabyte infrastructure, which now has more capabilities amongst our 6 schools to speak amongst themselves and talk amongst themselves as they couldn't in the past. Several years ago, we had just a smaller network. So as soon as the high school went on, everything was fast. And then the middle school came on, everything got slower. And then Horville came on, everything got slower. So now we're up to speed where every single school is maintaining the same speed, and it's a very quick speed. We're one of the fastest now actually in Ocean County. We also included Wi-Fi points, not only in all the hallways and the major access points like the gyms, the cafeterias, but all our classrooms too as well. Advanced student accessibility, that's what Mr. Brennan had talked about. We're a one-to-one initiative now in this district for students and staff alike, and that will continue on in this budget. We've added ViewSonic boards in the high school, and we're going to continue to roll them out actually in the middle school and then the lower grades as well. The upgrade to the computer lab at BHS, Now we have a super cyber lab, okay? And if anybody wants to check that out, it's a great lab. We included 30 brand new high-tech computers in there, so we can actually do Cyber Patriot. We can actually do our esports. So if anybody knows about esports, we've done very, very well with our esports in this district. And we were one of the first in the state, actually. We were one of the first in the state, actually, to award a varsity letter for that. Upgrades in mechanical equipment, not only just what Mr. Brennan had talked about, but we're also upgrading not only just HVAC and things like that. We're also, this past month, started upgrading all the cameras in this district. The cameras had been piecemeal together over the years. And if any of the principals can attest to it, you can't see anything on the cameras anymore, correct? So when we need that evidence, we don't have it. It's integrated a new lockdown system. So you see blue lights in major areas around this building. And that's a push button activity where the principal or anybody can actually push that in this district. And we also can lock down and do that from our phones. And also we have a paging and new alert system that we've integrated into this district to upgrade not only with the cameras, but all that as well. Now we turn it over to Mr. Gary.
Thank you. All right, good evening, everyone. So thinking about the programs that we run in this district, we're very proud, as Mr. Brennan said, that we're able to offer so much, okay, at a reduced cost compared to other districts around the county and around the state. So you saw in the opening slide, over 200 courses available here at the high school, all these different extracurricular programs and things like that. So a major part of the budget, and what you'll see later on in the slide is, Mr. Brennan will break it down for you in a pie chart, is, it is staffing and benefits. It's really paying the people make an organization. The building is a place, but the people make the organization. So, and of course, our contractual obligations to those staff members is the largest, segment of the budget. So we want to continue to support that, maintain those staffing levels to the greatest degree possible. And that's to provide for the whole child. So both the academic, your reading, writing, and arithmetic, but also the social and emotional needs. We know that the past couple of years have been very difficult, for a lot of people, challenges for COVID, et cetera, like that, social distancing. So bringing the children back has been amazing, to full-time in-person learning has been fantastic. But, there's a lot of challenges to come with that of helping kids adapt and cope with, things that they may have experienced. So whether it's SEL programs through the counseling department, providing exciting opportunities through new electives, we're always looking for ways to enhance, the experience here. Specifically, some things we're looking at for next year are new textbook adoptions and instructional resources. We'll be speaking with the Education Committee in May to share our recommendations for our K-5 ELA program and for new textbooks for BHS math and science classes. So we're looking at environmental, AP environmental, biology, AP bio, looking at marine science. We're looking at Algebra 2, Bridge to Advanced Algebra, civics at the high school. So a lot going on. And so there's a significant investment for those materials and resources. And then for some of the programs that I mentioned, you may have heard that the great state of New Jersey has again changed its high school graduation requirements, and we are back to the single 11th grade test like we had HESPA and stuff for so many years. So now it's the NJ graduation proficiency assessment. And we know that we have some learners that aren't quite ready, to be successful in their 11th grade year. So we're adding an NJ prep program for our kids who have been identified to, maybe have some gaps in their learning and put them in that position to be the most successful that they can be on that graduation assessment. Similarly, at the younger grades, our response to intervention program, RTI, which includes the traditional, basic skills instruction component, that's been a foundation. We've seen tremendous growth in closing gaps in the youngest learners, and really you build a foundation from the house up. So at the same time, of course, we can never forget about the kids that are here at the high school. So that's why we have the NJ program, but also putting things in place for the little ones so that, by the time they get here, those gaps, they just don't exist because we've been able to ameliorate them at the lowest level. So things like our transitional first grade program, some of the counseling programs and stuff that I mentioned, these are all, included in the budget. And then the last is a lot of the software and stuff that we provide for kids. As Mr. Nichols said, we are fully one-to-one, have an amazing, Wi-Fi network and a firewall and securities and things of that nature. And believe me, I'll be the first to say, we do not want kids on computers all day. I'm very hawkish about screen time. We know the reports of, how, dangerous that can be for the little ones. But there's a time and place for it. And so a lot of these programs are so powerful because they're diagnostic and adaptive. So meaning if I'm on a particular program and I start getting the questions correct, they get a little bit harder. If I start getting them wrong, they get a little bit easier until it finds my just right level. And then it gives a report, okay, for the teachers to use to see which students in their class are competent in particular standards and which students might need additional support. And so our coaches, our instructional coaches also use that information when working with the teachers, helping them design their lessons. And there's so much more information, okay, that's available now for educators than there ever was, even just, 10 years ago. We would be remiss if we didn't take advantage of that full panoply of information about our learners so that we can be the most efficacious in delivering programs and services to them. Oh, I lied to you. I got one more thing here for you. So just some highlights, things that we are really excited about and want to continue. For the third year in a row, we've been recognized by a national organization as one of the best communities for music education. And shout out to the Brackman band spring concert last night. I had a great attendance for that. And to be responsive to our students, we're always trying to meet our learners where they're at. So we've put in new programs and new courses here at the high school. Our ROTC program is really taking off and doing really, really well. The SHIELD program is new this year. We'd like to continue that. That's our law enforcement program, and cybersecurity, really recognizing that this is where the future is heading and trying to get ahead of that and give the children those types of experiences now here in high school. Okay, that you may have previously only been able to get it at a college level, which brings me to my next point: dual enrollment. We're very proud of our dual enrollment relationships with Stockton University, with Ocean County College, and the kids that take advantage of that are able to complete a great number of college credits at a tremendous savings, okay, before they even graduate high school. They might be graduating high school and ready to start their sophomore year of college and have an entire year of college under their belt, at little or no cost. Other programs we're proud of: the Seal of Biliteracy. That's something that we were a leader in the county and the number of students recognized for Seal of Biliteracy. So that's something that's awesome. I think we saw that at the last month's meeting. And we're always looking to give kids, as I said, as many opportunities as possible over the summer. So our summer enrichment program was really popular last year. We're going to look to run an elementary summer enrichment program again. And these are all things that we pay for as much as possible with grant funding, federal grant funding. And where not possible, we do have to rely on the local budget to provide these services for the community. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Gunderson to speak to special education.
Thank you, Mr. Barbieri. All right, good evening. So the first slide here talks a little bit about some of the challenges that we had coming into the budget. There's a big strain on the department and the amount of staffing needed because of an influx of students with special needs. Some of those are an increase in students that are actually being referred to and found eligible within our own student population. But a big chunk of this is students that have moved into the district that we've inherited that have come in with IEPs, whether those students have very specialized programs or they're in the gen ed class with a special education teacher. There's a need for a whole bunch more sections of both the specialized programs, ICR classes. And so that had quite an impact as we started to balance the budget for next year's. Over the past couple of years, we've added some programs that we're very proud of, and coming this year, we have a few that I want to highlight. So the ACES program is a specialized program for our students with autism. We're bringing those students together into one location where we'll be able to have staff that's cross-trained to work with all the different levels of students with similar disabilities. They'll be able to collaborate well together. We'll be able to put in our related service providers that are very talented working with these student populations in order to help them be very successful. The BHS school store, titled Claw Mart, Our folks are very proud of that. If you're in the cafeteria, there's a really very cool mural up there. That just got off the ground this year, and we threw some supports in to make sure that that's going to be a super successful opportunity for some of our disabled students that are at the high school to be able to go in and practice those job type skills that they would be able to utilize when they go out into the community and get jobs in the community. So that's a really awesome opportunity for them to practice those things here with our teachers that are going to work with them while they're running an actual store. Unique learning curriculum is a powerful tool that we're putting in the hands of our teachers that fills a very specific need for some of our learners that require specialized curriculum. And to the first slide that I was speaking to, there's added sections of the MD, the BD, and ICR classes. Last year, we adopted a few programs, a couple on here that are a little older. These are some programs that we're currently using that have been very successful. They meet the needs of some very specialized needs of different students. And these are curriculums that allow our teachers to have the tools in their hands so that are not making up their own materials in order to meet those special needs that we have in these different programs. And these are ones that we found that have been successful and we're going to be continuing to use moving forward and budget they're into this budget for next year to continue. Some expanded programs. We continue to expand our CBI and SLE, the community-based instruction and the structured learning environments. So one of these is working with our students getting out into the community where they're going to be able to access stores and utilize as on kind of the customer side of things. And the SLE, the structured learning experiences, are when our students are going out into the communities and actually working at some stores. Currently, we have more relationships with community partners that are working with our students than we've ever had. We have students that are getting jobs out in the community, and we're continuing to expand that. It's been fantastic. Students that have been hired straight from this program, and it's been very successful. We're continuing to expand that out. Okay, without any further ado.
Okay, so I often say that the budget is just and the dollars in the budget are a unit of measure for us to assess priorities. And so you've seen all the priorities that was presented before, and here how it's boiling down to how is it going to impact us and the taxpayer. So to kind of summarize where we're at, we're about a $64 million budget, and it's broken out. Our current expenses really are normal operating. That's to turn the lights on. That's to have staff in the classroom. That's to run the buses. That's to have the cafeteria. The capital outlay is the investment in the facilities. You're seeing a significant increase. Most of that and all of it for this year is the Edward School, for the demo of the Edward School. The debt assessment was a cool little card trick that the Trenton pulled on us a bunch of years ago. This building was built through, there were SCC fundings. They were called ROD grants, and I forget what the acronym stood for. And the way that it works is when you go out to bond for a project, you ask the taxpayers to bond for a project. At the time, there were two ways you could fund it. And we're a 40% funded district. And when I say 40% funded, that means we get 40% of state aid to support the project. So when we built the high school, at the time, Barney could either take the 40% in debt service aid, which is really, they give us money every year for the mortgage payment that we got to pay for the next 25, 30 years, or you could just take these ROD grants and it's money right from Trenton and it's taking off the debt. So what happened is, as the state got strapped for money, they says, okay, we want that money back. And they assessed us, and really all they did was decrease our state aid. It was a disguised way to decrease the state aid for Barnegat to now pay back the money that was once given to them, and they depended on that when they built the school. And I think it was the addition over at Brackman. So we're stuck with that. 804,000 is consistent from year to year, but it's coming out of our normal operating budget, not our debt service where we bonded for it and taxed separately on that. So once that falls off, that will be a significant increase in advantage to our budget, but we have another bunch of years left on that. So that's what you're seeing there. That's not an actual investment on our part, a decision that we can make. What this pie chart is showing, I'm trying to demonstrate how difficult it is to make adjustments to the budget without cutting programs. Programs and staff from a budgetary standpoint is pretty much the same. They're very similar. So if you compare the budget that you'll see online, you have the functional budget, which goes by instruction, special ed, and its salaries and all the different expenditures are built in. On the third page, you'll see it broken out. Okay, these are all our salaries. These are our legal expenses. These are employee benefits. And that's what this is representing. So if you see, there's 52% of our budget is based on salaries, about half, a little more, 23%, which is obviously employee costs. That brings us up to about 75% of our budget. And then when you start looking at tuition and utilities and everything like that, you're seeing our fixed costs are now exceeding 90%. So what's happening is we only have 10% of our budget, and there's an argument that there's some fixed there, because if we want to not buy pens, papers, and crayons for the kids, that's a necessary part of the budget as well. So it's very difficult to decrease a budget by just eliminating something, because if you're going to eliminate something, you're going to eliminate a program that's going to affect instruction, it's going to affect kids. So it's a very difficult decision. It's a very important one, and that's why you see the presentation that we gave before with Mr. Nickel, Gunderson, and Barbieri. So how do we balance the budget? It's got to balance, right? So we need the revenue side. Where do we get our money from? So our tax levy is most of it. It's over 60% of it. Straight up to local Barnegat taxpayers. The surplus is what I explained before of how we utilize previous year's budgetary savings and apply it to the following years. I think we're still a little bit high. If you see my previous budget presentations, 3 million is probably where we should be. But we're trying to use the difficult position we were put in with the pandemic and the unpredictability of the expenditures that we have to try and smooth that out over the years. So you will see that coming down over the coming years. And we use reserves. This is your capital outlay. Your maintenance reserve is another way to just kind of save some of that budgetary savings from previous years to support budget and investment in the assets in the facility. State aid, we saw a great increase this year, 6.5%. We haven't seen that in a number of years. But keep in mind, a lot of that was based on our enrollment. We were seeing a lot of enrollment. So our class sizes are getting bigger because we have more kids coming in. So we were able to increase not only our local tax levy, but we saw an increase in our state aid as well. And then our other revenue is what you're seeing a big decrease in, about 200 grand or so. We used in previous years, those of us that remember the Bengal Cubs and before and after care program, they're in a different fund. They're in a proprietary fund because it kind of ran like a business, and that generated surplus over the years. So as we eliminated those, we utilized that surplus of those funds to support our current budget to basically eliminate those funds that we don't need anymore. So they have finally expired, and that's why you're only seeing about 188,000, which is tuition. We have students that do come here from other districts, and those districts pay tuition, some rental fees for outside organizations using our facilities and things like that. So that's what you're seeing in the other. And then obviously the 64 million, which balances out with our expenditures that you saw on the previous slide. So, all right, all that great, huge numbers. How does it boil down? How does it hit my pocket? Like, what happens to me? We're actually seeing a decrease this year, and that's because Barnegat as a municipality is seeing an increase in their ratables. They're having more houses built. They're having more commercial properties come in. So our tax levy is being divided over more entities that have come into the town over the past year. So they're actually, it's relatively stable. We're seeing about a 0.5 cent decrease or so. This is probably the most realistic, understandable slide on the whole presentation, because this is just extrapolates the numbers to show this is how it's going to hit someone's mortgage payment on a monthly basis. So if someone with a $240,000 house that's assessed at $240,000, you'll see $1.75 less attributable to school tax. Keep in mind your tax bills and a number of different taxes, but we're actually showing a decrease that would be attributed to Barnegat. So really all you need to do is look down the assessed value side to where your house is, and then look to the right, and you'll see what the impact is. So to kind of sum it up, we're 64% locally funded. So any initiatives or requirements that the state gives us without supporting state aid, the local taxpayer bears most of that cost. State aid, great, we got it we got a significant increase this year. Are we going to get it in future years? That's, with the economy and the federal support and all the things we're seeing in the news, that's something that we're keeping an eye on. And what is the educational impact of the pandemic? Social emotional learning is starting to become more of a priority than the reading, writing, and arithmetic, if I'm understanding what my colleagues are saying. So that turns a whole different anomaly to the budget that we need to consider. And then where are we going to be? Where is the fiscal climate? Is it the inflation still going to increase? Are the costs going to increase? Is the supply chain going to catch up? All those things that we have to, we can never do a 5-year plan because we don't know where that 5 years is going to be. We're having enough trouble getting through a single year in these days. And with that, we'll open the floor to the hearing portion of the budget hearing. So if you have any comments or questions, jump on up.
Are there any attendees on Zoom that would like to comment?
Well, everyone knows where my office is. Call Brian first, but feel free to come by if any questions pop up. Email me or call. We'd be happy to explain anything that might pop up. Any final thoughts?
No, just want to take a moment to a big thank you to Steve and his office for the amount of work that goes into this. I know how much stress and anxiety and hours upon hours upon hours that goes into this. So big thank you to you and your office for all your work. Big thank you to the administrative team as a whole. This really is a kind of a collective team effort. And a lot of times this comes down to really what you can afford and what you can kind of go forward with. So I know everybody's passionate about the things that they advocate for. And unfortunately, just because of the constraints, we can't do everything. So I do appreciate everybody's kind of teamwork and cooperation on being able to come to a consensus on what we can prioritize and go forward. So big thank you there. Big thank you to the Board of Education for all your support. I know how many hours and investment goes into this. And I know how, obviously this is a very serious thing. So I know how much time and effort and energy goes into really reviewing it and making sure that collectively as a team, we kind of work together to put forth something that we can be proud of as a district, but we can also be cognizant of the fiscal responsibility that we all do. So thank you very much. I appreciate everybody's patience and cooperation and attention to this. And thank you, gentlemen, for your presentation. And with that, I will turn it back to you, President O'Brien.
Thank you, everybody. Okay. Can I please have a motion to vote on the budget?
So moved.
Okay, any further discussion on that?
Yeah, I just want to make one comment. First off, I want to say thank you to you specifically, Steve. We're seeing another year where our tax levy from the district is basically negligible in an environment where the consumer price index or inflation is raising at close to 8.5%. So how we can manage to keep our costs level and keep our budget relatively static and still increase our state aid, still manage to get raises for the staff. That's extremely commendable. So thank you. Thank you for the hard work and to the administration for being extremely mindful of the taxpayer resources. Secondly is when you look at the amount of money that goes to teacher salaries and benefits, it's 75%. And I think what's really important for the town to understand, and the town's not here in mass tonight, but if anyone ever wants to come back and look at this record, the fact is that a lot of those salaries come right back to this town. So $35 million of teacher salaries, almost half of that will get spent in this town in one way or another, whether, and that feeds our local economy since we're the largest employer in the town and one of the largest in the county. So that money's not lost. That money's not lost on this town. It gets reinvested over and over again. So thank you for the moment, Mr. President.
Okay. Any other discussion? All right, Ms. Cherney,
Yes.
Mr. Hickey,
Yes.
Mr. Iamonte,
Yes.
Mr. Levy. Did it again, Ms. Levy, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Ms. Tarnowski,
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
All right, motion carries.
And can I have a motion to enter public session, please?
So moved.
Fits right in with the standard.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, sorry.
Roll call.
Distracted. Ms. Cherney.
Yes.
Mr. Hickey.
Yes, Mrs. Brennan.
You want me to reopen that discussion or anyone that takes anything back? Mr. Iamonte,
Yes.
Ms. Levy,
Yes.
Ms. Tarnowski,
Yes.
and Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
All right, let me read the open public record meeting statement. Okay, the Barnegat Township Board of Education appreciates and welcomes public comment, advice, and suggestions, especially when it's intended to assist the Board of Education. Please feel free to speak to the board during the public session. Comments and discussion will be limited to 1 5-minute period per individual unless requested by the chairperson to continue on a point of clarification. Public comment at a special meeting of the board shall be related to the call of the meeting. In accordance with the Board of Education policy, each participant must be recognized by the presiding officer and must preface their comments by announcement of their name, address, and group affiliation. If appropriate, your anticipated courtesy to the members of the public and the board is appreciated. With that, the floor is open.
Anybody in the audience?
Good evening, George Fedorczyk, 131 Rock Rim Boulevard. Glad I could show up. Mr. Brennan, I didn't want to, speak there away from the mic, but, like I said last month, congratulations on the budget.
Thank you.
Both, it's a $400,000 decrease in the tax levy. While, yeah, there's some ratables that have come up in town, but I think it's more than just that. I think there's some programs that have been put in place over the past several years that we're finally maybe possibly seeing the benefits of. So, take a look at that. I got 2 topics tonight. I realize that public session is really geared towards what is currently on the agenda, but there's some items that are out there in the state right now that I just like to more or less make statements about. I realize you're not going to be able to comment. Dr. Lawis, I do appreciate your time on the phone last week for one of the topics. First off, I'd like to start with there's a bill going out for implementation. I believe it's for the 24-25 school year. It's being co-signed or co-sponsored by Assembly Speaker Craig Coughlin and Senator Vincent Gopal. It's in reference to the start times for the high school. They want to push it to 8:30. The reason being, or the excuse they're using with it, is the mental wellness and health, mental well-being and health of the high school students. Well, I can understand wanting to push it. I really can understand wanting to push it. There's going to be a domino effect with this, and I just hope the board's paying attention to what's going to come down, in the coming year with this specifically, especially for us. We're already in a transportation crisis. It's no secret to anybody here. So what does that do for the rest of the schools that we have in town as far as their start times? They're going to have to move either the left or the right. And no matter what you do, especially if we end up, we're probably more or less going to move them to the right, I would imagine. Apparently our 17-year-olds can't get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, but we're going to expect our 5 and 6 and 7-year-olds to do it. So just pay attention to it when it does come up. I do hope the board really considers fighting back with this. I believe the State Board Association is against this particular one, from what I read on it, but it's definitely something that's going to be it's going to be interesting to watch, see unfold. With that being said, my next topic is also with Senator Vin Gopal. Apparently, I guess it was last week,
he had mentioned in reference, and I'm uncomfortable even speaking about this at this point, but it deals with the curriculum, the human sexuality and family life curriculum that's being proposed for September 2022. I will say I'm probably guilty for not paying attention because according to what I've been reading, this has been in the works since 2020. But it's in reference to what our first graders and second graders are going to be taught in the future as well as others. Senator Gopal, he's out of Monmouth. He chairs the state education committee. He's looking to pass a bill that's going to allow parents to be able to see the curriculum for family life prior to it being published. I hope that we can all agree that that would be a good thing. Although I wonder what his intentions are. I'm not going to, assume anything with that, but it's very concerning that the state is looking to pass this curriculum down to the districts. And I understand that teachers are going to be put in a very uncomfortable situation, whether it's phys ed, whether it's the nurses, whether it's a regular teacher. I don't know how it's going to come down through the schools. But I've had conversation with my wife, about this, and it's one of the few things we've actually come to agree upon. That's our decision to decide what our kids are going to be taught when it comes to family life and human sexuality. That's something to be done in the home. Yes, those things are going to come up in school, and I'm not naive to think that some of our kids are probably smarter than us or know more than us at this point. But I'm more concerned with the age. I can't understand why we're trying to force a curriculum on a third grader or second grader that they should just come home and just want to play. I mean, if you tell a kid they're a dinosaur at that age, they're going to believe they're a dinosaur. It is what it is. So it's very concerning, and I'm not anti-LGBTQ curriculum, at all that was passed that blew up into, I do think there's a place for it, but there's an age appropriate time for all of that. So I just hope that the board, I know that the governor backtracked a little bit over the last week, but I do hope that the board can at least keep following on to this. This wasn't a secret. This was obviously discussed at another association meeting, I'm sure. But at the very least, please keep the parents abreast. I think that's my buzzer. I think I'm okay because I'm the only one here though.
So just to touch upon a couple things.
Your time's up.
My time's out.
Time's up. Sorry.
All right. So a few different things. One, I appreciate the recognition for the collective efforts on putting forth the budget. Again, I think that's something year after year we're very proud of our ability to try to do as much as we do while balancing that with fiscal responsibility. To address the two things that you brought up. So yes, there are the first one. There is a bill that was being proposed. It's still being discussed as far as moving the high school start times till after 8:30. That's actually not anything new that's been discussed. There was research and studies that were done on that. And basically the mindset is that with the younger kids, they wake up and they're more alert and they're more attent and they would be more productive earlier in the day. Whereas high school students, as they get older and the different responsibilities, maybe they're up later, that they would actually benefit from a later start time. It hasn't taken really any real traction historically because of exactly what you talked about. You run into the issue of what do you do with, we're very fortunate that we have amazing, athletic facilities for our students, but what do you do when you don't have lights on a field and you're pushing back the time for high school to get out? And then you look at some of those opportunities where, schools aren't going to be able to maybe put up lights for those kids to have those opportunities. You do run into issues with transportation, just as you had pointed out. So there are a number of hurdles that I think have been identified and getting kicked around. To my knowledge right now, that is something that's kind of stalled a little bit because of a lot of these concerns that have been brought up. But it is still out there. So I think that is something that's absolutely relevant to keep our eye on, because there is going to be implications, outside of just saying, no big deal, we just start the elementaries earlier and the high school later. It's not as easy as just waving that wand.
So can I
go ahead.
real quick?
Yeah.
Anybody else? I think so.
Tom hit the buzzer.
Yeah, my concern with it is, when we're in a high school age, we're setting these students up to go out into the real world.
Hmm.
Whether it's the business world, whether it's trade school, whether it's college. I would love to have a job where I can go to my boss and say, no, 7:30 doesn't work for me. Can I come in at 9 o'clock?
Hmm.
I mean, you want to talk about mental health and well-being? What happens the first time you get fired because you decide you weren't going to show up on, yeah, this just doesn't work for me. So like, I just think it's more than just start times and buses and whatnot.
Absolutely.
We're not setting these students up for success moving forward.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes,
I will
sir.
say, when I did my undergrad, the classes that I took that started at like 8 o'clock, it was me and like 3 other people on, but I do agree with what you're
There's
saying.
something for no Friday classes in college. I got
I
you.
do agree with what you're saying. To touch upon the last topic, I think right now it's a little premature for us to kind of really hammer, this out and have any real dialogue about it. We are starting to, we're still getting clarification from the state. In fact, I believe something came out. I was just pulling it up right now to look at the date. On April 14th was the last clarification that we did get from the state. So it is going to be interesting to see kind of what unfolds over the next coming weeks and months. But there's a few things that I can definitively say right now from the dais. One, as cited, and even in their last information that came out, reading directly from here, and the ability of parents to opt out of the instructional activities aligned with these standards. So these do fall under that health and PE. So these are different from previous standards that have come out where there wasn't necessarily an opt-out for that. This is something that falls under that umbrella. And that will be something that gets communicated, very loud and clearly to the community as far as how we kind of move forward with that, respecting the parents' right to interject and say that's our conversation to have. We are, if we do, if nothing changes on this end and we continue to proceed, Mr. Barbieri and Mr. Germano have been working on a presentation for parents to have a parent information night so that we can be very transparent with what this looks like and how it's going to be rolled out in Barnegat. And, what I can say is, these standards are what they are. And if we're mandated to teach them, then we're mandated to teach them. However, with that being said, there is a lot of local control and power on what that looks like inside our classrooms. So that will be something that obviously, if nothing changes from the state level and we proceed with the standards as they are written, then that is something that we will do like we do with every other curriculum. We'll sit down and look at how that best gets rolled out within our classrooms. With that, we will handle that with the same level of sensitivity and respect that we do any other, sensitive topic that comes up. So, like I said, there will definitely be opportunities for parents to engage, opportunities for that transparency, for us to have those conversations on exactly what it looks like in the Barnegat classrooms, what our teachers are going to be expected to teach, how that's going to get rolled out. That'll definitely be a collaborative effort as we kind of go forward. But to kind of your point, I think at this point, I will be curious to see kind of what the next weeks and months bring as far as if there is any adjustments or anything like that, because I do know this has been a topic that's obviously, very polarizing, and it's something that's been in the news and something that's been kind of debated heavily at that level. So we will see and stay tuned. And that's, like I said, this will be a very transparent, collaborative effort with our community to make sure that we're putting that forward in a way that people are comfortable with. And then, for the individuals that still may not be comfortable with it, when we come to that decision, we will be very loud and clear about the opt-out procedure so that we can kind of move forward in that way.
No, I appreciate your time. And to the members of the board, I implore you to stay engaged with this topic, this discussion. All right. Thank you.
Anybody else in the audience? Anybody on Zoom? We have a motion to close public session, please.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Ms. Cherney,
Yes.
Mr. Hickey,
Yes.
Mr. Iamonte,
Yes.
Ms. Levy,
Yes.
Ms. Tarnowski,
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
All right, we are out of public session at 7:26.
Okay. Item number 13 is Finance B&G Committee motions. Can I please have a motion for items 1 through 8?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion on those items?
Yeah, I have a quick question. So, like in the initial part of the agenda, it starts talking about $800,000 as the equipment lease. And then as you kind of get through into the later sections, it switches to 700,000. Is that a typo or?
It's a typo. It should be reading 800 through. I'll make the adjustment on the agenda and in the minutes.
Yeah, so I'd like to make the amendment there. Perfect.
Yep, the motion is for a lease purchase of the equipment that's listed in there. That's accurate. It was just the numbers wrong. So for 800,000. Sorry about that.
So it would be as amended with those changes.
Yep. All right, any other discussion? Okay, Ms. Cherney,
Yes.
Mr. Hickey,
Yes.
Mr. Iamonte,
Yes.
Ms. Levy,
Yes.
Ms. Tarnowski,
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
All right, motion's carried.
Next up is agenda item 14, Education Committee motions. Can I please have a motion for items 1 through 7?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion on those items? All right, Ms. Cherney,
Yes.
Mr. Hickey,
Yes.
Mr. Iamonte,
Yes.
Ms. Levy,
Yes.
Ms. Tarnowski,
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
All right, motion's carry.
Section 15 for Education Committee, informational purposes only, items 1 and 2. Next up is section 16, Personnel Committee motions. Can I please have a motion for items 1 through 45?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Okay. All right, any further discussion on the personnel items? All right, Ms. Cherney,
Yes.
Mr. Hickey,
Yes.
Mr. Iamonte,
Yes.
Ms. Levy,
Yes.
Ms. Tarnowski,
Yes.
and Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
All right, motion's carry.
Okay. Next, can I please have a motion to enter executive session?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Cherney,
Yes.
Mr. Hickey,
Yes.
Mr. Iamonte,
Yes.
Ms. Levy,
Yes.
Ms. Tarnowski,
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
We are in executive session at 7:29.
To adjourn executive session?
So moved.
Second. Second.
Did I move my head? Okay. just check.
I'm gonna look at you next time.
All right, Ms. Cherney,
Yes.
Mr. Hickey,
Yes.
Mr. Iamonte,
Yes.
Ms. Levy,
Yes.
Ms. Tarnowski,
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
All right, we're out of exec at 8:42.
Sure.
Um, May I please have a motion to approve the HIB report for this month?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Cherney,
Yes.
Mr. Hickey,
Yes.
Mr. Iamonte,
Yes.
Ms. Levy,
Yes.
Ms. Tarnowski,
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
All right, motion's carry.
Okay, and can I have a motion for 3 items to be read by Mr. Brennan, please?
So moved.
Second.
Block vote 'em? Okay,
Well, do you want, you want to do 3 separate?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess.
So first one, we'll do 1 item at a time. So a motion for the first item for new business?
All right, I need a motion to approve the reinstatement of employee 5506 effective July 1, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
All right, any further discussion on that? Ms. Cherney,
Yes.
Mr. Hickey,
Yes.
Mr. Iamonte,
Yes.
Ms. Levy,
Yes.
Ms. Tarnowski,
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Second motion is motion to approve separation agreement of employee number 5506 as presented to the Board of Education.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Ms. Cherney,
Yes.
Mr. Hickey,
Yes.
Mr. Iamonte,
Yes.
Ms. Levy,
Yes.
Ms. Tarnowski,
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
Motion carries. And the last one is motion to approve resignation of employee 5506 effective June 30th, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on that? Ms. Cherney,
Yes.
Mr. Hickey,
Yes.
Mr. Iamonte,
Yes.
Ms. Levy,
Yes.
Ms. Tarnowski,
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
All right, motion's carry. Motion. Please, everyone's favorite.
Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All right. Ms. Cherney,
Yes.
Mr. Hickey,
Yes.
Mr. Iamonte,
Yes.
Ms. Levy,
Yes.
Ms. Tarnowski,
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
All right, we adjourned at 8:40. 8:45. All right, we'll go at 8:45.